Welcome to Health University, the online classroom and podcast dedicated to empowering women and couples on their fertility, pregnancy, perimenopause, and emotional relationships journeys. I'm Dr. Susan Fox, a women's health expert with over 20 years of experience in helping women and couples navigate fertility challenges and heal their whole health and reproductive health. With compassion, clarity, and practical tips, our podcast episodes provide a wealth of information tailored to your unique needs. We're passionate about helping you understand your own body and its connection to mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I'd be honored if you would help me by taking a moment to rate and review our podcast on iTunes. Your positive feedback helps us reach more listeners who can benefit from our empowering and educational approach to fertility and holistic wellness. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Health University, where we believe that knowledge is power, and if we give you the right education and information, you can take that for your own transformation and do your best work in the world. I am delighted and so honored to have with me today Mr. Ken Swartz. And Ken is the founder and Chief Scientific Officer of C60 Power. And C60 is a product that I've been taking myself for the last several years, and it is remarkable in my own experience. Now, this is a series on fertility, so I am not speaking about myself insofar as fertility is concerned. We'll have Ken back for other series to talk about the variety of ways in which it can help. But for purposes of this fertility series, I would love to have Ken's ideas and recommendations as to how, when, and why C60 should be a part of our apothecary when we're trying to conceive. So, Ken, welcome. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, glad to be on.
Thank you. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how C60 came to your awareness and how it is that you developed this amazing product, what it is, how to use it, and so on and so forth?
Oh, well, it's C60 is like a molecule of carbon. It's 60 atoms of carbon shaped exactly like a little soccer ball. Mm-hmm. And it was discovered in 1985 by Harry Kroto, Richard Smalley, and Robert Curl. And they got a Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1996 for its discovery. But it was kind of hard to make. So it wasn't until the early 2000s that they really started to do scientific studies. And in one of the famous studies, the Botry study, one of the originals, they found that it actually increased animal lifespan by 90%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was with Wistar rats. And so how I came to it is it's a powerful, one of the reasons they found it's a very powerful antioxidant. And that's kind of its key thing. And I was working on a fusion reactor project. And, there had been a lot of late doctors this and head professors that associated with that kind of fusion. And so I went looking for another radiation protectant for my team and myself. And I read about this stuff called carbon-60 in some scientific studies. And they basically gave one set of rats C60, the other set of rats, the controls, got nothing. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. Pretty much all the C60 rats lived with control rats that didn't get any. They immediately died. And so, and radiation causes oxidative radicals. That's why it's damaging, because it knocks protons and oxygens off various atoms in your body, the molecules in your body. And so I got a couple of sources of C60 for my team and myself. And we're all still around, by the way, so I guess it worked as a radiation.
It's working.
But something unexpected happened, and that's when I went to see my optometrist about, because I kept using it afterwards. Because it gave me a little more energy, better mental clarity. And, the afternoon blogs you get after you eat lunch and want to take a nap, They kind of went away. So I went to go to my optometrist, and my drusen or dry macular degeneration had completely disappeared.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, well, he had never seen that before in his many years of practice. So, but in the meantime, one of my electrical engineer on the job, Gary Rodriguez, had developed severe wet macular degeneration. So I made a C60 C60 mixture dissolved it in MCT coconut oil, because Rodriguez, he also had type 2 diabetes, and MCTs can be turned into ketones by your liver very quickly. So it's a great energy source it's a great energy source for athletes, but anybody with glucose processing issues also uses it. And after taking a tablespoon of C60 and MCT oil for a year, his wet macular degeneration went completely away.
Isn't that fascinating? Wow, I can actually link a little bit with Chinese medicine about the macular degeneration part, and that the liver processing all of these toxins and therefore getting all of this help. We say in Chinese medicine opens to the eyes. So isn't it curious that both of you had these vision issues that got healed by healing your physiology and clearing yourself of all of the toxins of the free radical damage that had created the symptoms in the first place.
Yeah, and so C60 has been it's still we're still coming to understand it, but like one of the things that has been found, it's what's called an SOD, superoxide dismutase / catalase mimic, and it deals with the oxidative radical called superoxide. That's an oxygen with an extra electron, because oxidative damage is basically your body rusting. So obviously an oxygen with an extra electron, well, that's going to cause some damage. And also C60 deals with the hydroxyl radical. That's basically a water molecule with the proton missing. So it's got a free electron that kind of tears at things. Mm-hmm. And so those are the two most damaging oxidative radicals in your body.
How do we get them? How do we get them?
Sorry. Well, like for instance, superoxide is made in the mitochondria. Mitochondria are the little energy powerhouses of the cell, and they're making ATP and a whole bunch of other things like pregnenolone and precursors for RNA desynthesis. And so they make, like, their powerhouse, they make a pollution, and superoxide is one of them. And usually your body makes superoxide dismutase, SOD, which turns superoxide into hydrogen peroxide, then catalase turns hydrogen peroxide back into a water and an oxygen, kind of completing the cycle there. And so, but the problem is, as we get older, our SOD and catalase levels drop, just, the part of the inevitable process of aging. And there's certain endogenous antioxidants you can't get from diet. They have to be made in the body, and catalase and the SOD are two of them. Glutathione is kind of one of them too. There's a little bit of supplementation now for glutathione, but it's still pretty preliminary, doesn't always get to where it needs to go. Mm-hmm. So when you take C60 passes the gut barrier, it passes the blood-brain barrier, it's taken into the cells by endocytosis, then it's taken into the mitochondria, and they know how to use it. So when you take C60, your mitochondria restart back up in a big way.
This is fascinating for me, and I'm presuming for the listeners who we're hearing already out there that that the basis for, or a basis for, fertility challenge has to do with mitochondrial dysfunction at the level of the follicle inside of the ovary. So if we can really help sort of arrest and reverse this superoxide activity, so that we can then let the mitochondria heal and become their powerhouse again. You tell me if I'm correct in presuming that we can then therefore presume that mitochondria will function better in the next woman's ovulation.
Oh yes, and that's the key. Yes, the mitochondria are making ATP, but the other thing mitochondria do, and this is especially important for the cells of the endocrine system, is the mitochondria make pregnenolone, the precursor molecule for all the hormones. So when you take C60, your mitochondria restart. You're getting the ATP, which is energy for cells, but you're also getting that pregnenolone, which is then turned into whatever type of hormone your body needs. And so people that take C60, you'll get better sleep, because you're making more melatonin in your pineal gland. You'll get more human growth hormone and other master hormones from your pituitary hypothalamus complex. You'll get more T3 and T4. And also, probably the most important for this is you'll get more in the adrenal system. Mm-hmm. And the adrenals make three things. They make glucocorticoids, which balance the blood sugar. For instance, my friend Gary, his type 2 diabetes went subclinical. And that's a large part due to glucocorticoids and certain other hormones that are made in the small intestines. Most people don't know that the small intestine is also a hormone-producing organ. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is you also make mineralocorticoids, which is, by the way, a counterindication for C60. C60, when it restarts your adrenals and the mineralocorticoids, if you're taking a blood thinner, the underlying cause of your blood being, quote, thick can go away. And so if you're on a blood thinner, your blood can be too thin. So you need to consult with a doctor before taking C60 if you're on a blood thinner. It's
Okay,
really
good to
more
know.
testing it. The C60 doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a month or two. It took for 7 months was for my macular degeneration to go away, somewhere around that. For Gary's, it was like a year. So it's not going to, this stuff is not going to happen next week or overnight.
Mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
takes a little time. But, and then of course, the third thing the adrenals make, which is what we're talking about, is the androgens.
Mm-hmm.
And the androgens, they go out and they're put into the bloodstream and they're taken up by the ovaries and the testes, and they're turned into testosterone or progesterone or estrogen
Estradiol.
or
Yep.
some of the other ones that are
Mm-hmm.
necessary. And so that's one of the things that C60 does.
That's fascinating, and I've heard both that this is a fact, and I've heard that it is fiction. That the levels of excess cortisol in our body will do something what's called, I've heard the term pregnenolone steal. Does this make any sense
So,
to you?
yes, I understand it. Some people claim that it isn't,
Okay.
but I'm not so sure that pregnenolone, it's produced generally inside the cells, and then the cells convert it to whatever. So there may be something to that, but there's probably some pregnenolone which is secreted into the bloodstream, maybe exomes or something, put it
Mm-hmm.
out there in packages. So we really don't know.
Okay.
But
Well,
one thing we do know about
yes, go ahead.
one thing we do know about C60 is it causes a large increase in libido in both men and women.
That's necessary.
Yes, it is.
That's a necessary component for natural baby making, that's for sure. Well, the reason I raised the question about cortisol is that, of course, women and couples going through fertility challenge are stressed. The environment that we live in our modern day world is stressful. It's all raising our cortisol levels. We're being exposed to, EMFs and other toxins in our daily lifestyle. How would you say C60 can help mitigate some of that?
Well, it's a super antioxidant protectant. And a lot of those, like for instance, because C60 neutralizes the hydroxyl ion, and that's the primary ion created by radiation. That's why it was used as radiation protection.
Mm-hmm.
And then the superoxide. Now, one of the other things is those two, that's the only two oxidative radicals C60 works with. It doesn't interact with any other oxidative radicals, because there's a lot of oxidative radicals that are important to your body's signaling system, like nitrogen oxide. That's a vasodilator. That's really important, guys.
Yes, it is.
in this fertility concept. So you don't want to interfere with that. And also there's hydrogen peroxide, and then there's some others based around sulfur and iron and zinc. They're lower energy, but C60 doesn't interfere with any of the body's signaling molecules that are oxidative radicals, like the ones I mentioned. And so C60 is the only antioxidant you can take, which actually increases athletic performance, because they've done meta studies of vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin A, which are antioxidants. But the problem is, if you get too much of them, it starts interfering with that signaling molecules, and then performance goes down. And performance.
That was my next question. We know that our A, C, E, zinc, selenium are all antioxidant molecules. Is there an issue with taking one's prenatal plus taking C60?
Okay, well, I can't. C60 is not an FDA-approved substance. You can look at the scientific literature. There's a website called whatisc60.org. On our site, shopc60.com, we can post human studies.
Mm-hmm.
They've shown things like, the first use of C60 was in a cream, and it reduces lines and wrinkles in Japanese women. And the reason we discovered that, and then later, there's all kinds of things that got to it. For instance, I'm going to do a roundabout story, but they did a study, because C60 is a great antioxidant. So that's what its primary use was originally. So what they did is they gave rabbits arthritis,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what scientists do. And then of course the rabbits had inflammation. They injected C60 into the joints of the rabbits, and of course the inflammation went way down, and which was expected, right? That's something. But when they examined the joints, they actually found C60 restarted or healed up the cartilage. The cartilage literally regrew, so the joints regrew themselves. And then they went and they studied that, and they discovered that C60 increases stem cell levels. Huge increase in stem cell levels.
Bingo.
And I could go on the story how they discovered that. So we're all still doing the C60 stuff. This is all the last like 10, 15 years, all the studies of C60. So it's a very young substance.
Well, this is also one reason that I wanted to have you on, Ken, is that my personality since I was a child is a little bit of, I know something you don't know. But when I do, when it is for me or about me, I can't help but share it. I can keep everybody else's secret to the grave. But if I learn of something that is just not out there yet, that can be helpful, I really feel it is just incumbent upon me, and I just can't shut up about it. So, and nor do I want to, because I really think that these are the kind of things that become, the medicine of the future. And so to just zip it until there are enough double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, I just think that is, for me, unethical. I need to share what I know, so that people can get a heads up or a leg up or an ovary up, because so many couples, we see there is an epidemic of infertility, both female and male factor is more of the reactive oxidative species, the byproducts of perhaps the less than healthy way of living, or cell phones in the pocket, or whatever else might be. So if taking something as simple as C60 can help reverse that, then I want the world to know about this. What form do you find is best for people to take? Is it oral? I know I personally enjoy the gummies because I love my candy. The sugar-free tart cherry gummies are my favorite, but I also put a little bit of the MCT in my coffee in the morning, and then I use the serum on my eyes and around my lips, because as a woman of a certain age, I want to not show that to the world.
Yes, and well, C60 is the only type of C60 which has any health beneficial effects is C60 that's dissolved either in oil or some other substance. And so, yeah, the particles of C60 won't do you any good. There's things that you see, but you have to be careful, because when C60 was a very small thing, there's only a couple companies making it. We were one of them. Everything was fine, but then it became really popular, and so we have all these fly-by-nighters coming into the market. And so
that was my next comment. Is how do we know? Yep.
Yeah, you're looking for C60 dissolved in an oil. What you're looking for is 99.99% or 99.98%, something around that, because of pure C60, because that's the C60 that comes from sublimation. Mm-hmm. Sublimation is the cousin of evaporation. It's when a solid turns into a gas and back into solid. And that happens in a sublimator, and we have sublimated C60 because that's the type of C60 that we want. A lot of C60 is made with solvents, methylbenzene. It's not what you want to have in your body. And so we don't use we don't use solvent-based C60, because what happens is, it's the worst part of it is that people go out there and they see 99.9% pure C60 or 99.5% C60. The other problem is that 0.5% or that 0.1%, that's methylbenzene. So really what you want to look for is sublimated C60.
Okay.
And then just as the first, look for sublimated, then 99.998 or something, because that's what sublimation does. It's a very pure purification process. Okay. Then we come to the oils, and we kind of have the Goldilocks thing. We kind of have the oils that are just kind of right, because there's some oils we don't want stuff in. Canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil. I could go on, right? Those are those seed oils, omega-6 rich, very inflammatory. I mean, if you're looking for fertility problems and cortisol overload, you don't want any seed oils in your diet. That's basic.
Exactly.
And then on the other side, there's things like fish oil and hemp seed oil and flaxseed oil, which are really high in omega-3s, which is great, but they go rancid really quickly. In fact, any of those oils you should always buy from the refrigerated section of your health food store. If fish oil off the shelf generally is rancid, just as a rule. Buy it refrigerated. Don't buy it off the shelf. And
even if it's in the gel cap form, I know that many will buy the gel cap form. Is it stabilized that way, or is that also a cautionary tale?
I just don't trust any of it. I just think it should come out of the refrigerated section, because you don't know how long it's been on there.
Right.
It might be okay if it comes, right from the fish to the thing, but it's been sitting there 6 months. You got a problem.
Right.
And so we put it in kind of like the Goldilocks of oils. All the research originally was done in olive oil. Mm-hmm. And so we offered an extra virgin, 100% organic olive oil, because, olive oil is well characterized. We know it's healthy for you. It's a Mediterranean diet. Mm-hmm. But one of the things about olive oil, it's a little bit irritating, it's a little bit strong. Mm-hmm. So if I took like an ounce of olive oil, I might have to go visit the bathroom after a while. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when I put it in, which we can't see here, is avocado oil. Mm-hmm. And because avocado oil is very easily digested.
Yeah.
And so I could take a lot more with avocado oil than I could with olive oil.
Right.
And then of course I also put it in I put it in MCT coconut oil. We have it in the big bag here.
Yep.
Here's a kind of see it's in purple. And we used to call our product C60 Purple Power. Now it's just C60 Power because when you dissolve C60 and MCT oil, which is like a clear as water, it turns it purple. So that's that. But I put
It's
it in
actually a
MCT.
beautiful shade. It's what I use, and I love it. It's like it just gives a little extra something to my spirit, I suppose, when I see this purple power.
And then the final thing, one of the things you're looking for is you may see the little QR code on our
Yes.
outside of our labels. We're actually going to get that embossed on the
Container itself
eventually. But it's a QR code, and so what you can do is you can scan that in on your product, and you can go to a website which will show you. It'll show you like the oils that the oils are 100% organic and farm source. We go right to a source from a farm.
Wow.
And then also afterwards we send it to third-party testers who test it for concentration and purity, no microbiologics and stuff like that. So you can know that your product is safe and effective.
That's hugely important, listeners. We have to know that what's on the bottle is what's in the bottle is what will be working inside of our bodies, because so often it's a wild west out there, and you can think you're getting a deal at Amazon or whatever, but you could be actually making your problem worse by just taking in something that is not healthy for you.
Now, this for your fertility, we do have one other product, and it's called C60 Sexy.
Yeah.
And that is an edible massage oil.
Nice.
So it does two jobs in once.
Nice.
More into that.
Beautiful.
And also another thing which you like, I know, Susan, you like these are the sugar-free gummies. We also have it in sugar for those purists who like the old style. And it's allulose.
Yeah, which I mean, allulose is in my opinions just so it's there's no downside to taking it, aside from perhaps if you take too much you might have some digestive difficulty, but you really have to take a lot. I mean, I put allulose into baked goods and at much higher doses that are sprinkling the outside of these yummy gummies, and still haven't had
a little fold down thing there, and here's like the gummy. There's usually one or two gummies, and you're probably working on fertility, 2 gummies in the morning. You also want to take in the morning. C60, when it gets in there, it ramps all those mitochondria up, and people get going and stuff. And so you don't want to take it late at night because it can keep you up.
It can be too stimulating. Okay.
Yep. And another thing that C60 does is because C60 is an antioxidant. It gets in there like inflammation. There's acute inflammation. You just sprain your ankle. It swells up, it hurts, and also, which stops you from stepping it, but also inflammation suppresses dopamine. And that's the motivation molecule. That's the molecule that literally gets you out of bed in the morning. And so a lot of people have chronic inflammation. It could be in the joints. It could be in your gut. It could be all kinds of places. And what C60 does, it stops those oxidative radicals, those superoxides and those hydroxylides, which are very damaging from damaging tissues and various things. And if cells don't get damaged, they don't send out cytokines. And then the neutrophils, the phagocytes, and all the macrophages don't come in there and cause a whole, giant overblown reaction.
Autoimmune reaction, right?
Yep. So when people take C60, it puts down that. It also moderates the release of histamines from mast cells. So it moderates the immune response to a more rational way, because now the immune cells themselves have enough energy to do things correctly. And so it'll lift that oxidative burden that your cells are under, so your dopamine levels will rise. Because one of the side effects when people start taking C60 is they have uncontrollable desires to clean the house or the garage or do something, all those things that have been sitting there, that motivation comes back, and then they off to do things that have been sitting on the back.
Another reason to take it in the morning, so you're not running the vacuum while everybody else is trying to sleep, people.
Yes.
I have a question that just arose. We talked, inflammation, cytokines, crossing the blood-brain barrier. And you reported that people feel a sense of uplift. Are there studies that have been done, or can they even be done, to show a decrease, a damping down or tamping down of brain inflammation when taking C60?
Well, they've shown all kinds of that with animal studies, which are not translated, This
Mhm.
is not an FDA, and obviously FDA says you can't translate animals. So that's why you need to go to whatisc60.org to see
Okay.
all that stuff. So it's done that like in human studies. It like for instance, it regulated it moderated the release of histamines from mast cells
Mhm.
and other things. It can use human cells in the test tube, by the way, so we can post those. Like they put it, they had human nerve cells, and then they gave some C60 and they exposed them to toxins. And so the ones with C60 resisted the toxins and weren't damaged, whereas controls, of course, that didn't have any C60 were damaged. They say the same. They show that with immune cells and also human skin cells when exposed to UV radiation when they had C60 they were resistant against the damage from UV radiation where the other cells were damaged. So
Mhm.
basically and also during the Botry study, they had 5.5 years. In fact, last few of the C60 rats had an accident so that they could actually publish their study. But during that time, they did some other tests, and they did one where they gave rats, one set of rats got C60, the other didn't. They exposed them to carbon tetrachloride, which I don't know if your audience doesn't know is one of the nastiest chemicals out there and very
Okay.
damaging. They used to use it in like dry cleaning, and then it leaks
Oh,
into the water
yes, yes, yes,
supply. And there was a
yes.
big thing, yeah. And they've had to shut down walls all over the place because carbon tetrachloride is so nasty. But the rats that got C60 resisted any damage to the livers by the carbon tetrachloride, whereas control rats had severe lesions and stuff. So
Wow.
it really protects against because a lot of those poisons, those toxins, they aren't the toxin that just does the damage. It's as that toxin breaks down in your body, it produces a lot of oxidative radicals, high energy oxidative radicals, because those carbon chloride binds are really strong. And so all these oxidative radicals go spewing out there, and then that causes the cascade of damage. You got C60, it stops that cascade before it starts. And so it allows you to resist or, be undamaged by toxins that otherwise would do damage to you.
So you actually have examples for yourself and your associate of intervention of the macular
Yes.
disease, but then it is a really good prevention. So that
Yes, and,
yeah.
and there is a lot of one of the things C60 does increase. There's been C60 babies. Actually, it happens a lot. We can't recommend taking C60 during pregnancy because or during nursing because we don't have any studies on that. There have been people who have done it anyway all the way through, and they've had really healthy, though rather large babies. So, so that's
Well, we do
yeah.
the same with all of our supplements. We just sort of defer to Mother Nature unless there's some real medical intervention that is warranted to continue care through
Well, they
pregnancy.
did toxicity studies on C60. What it is C60 in animal studies and short of human studies, it's about 0.1 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. There's bound to
Mm-hmm.
be a health efficacious dose to, 0.2, 0.3, something like that. So they wanted to test where C60 is really toxic. So they took it up to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. That's 10,000 times the health beneficial dose. Now,
Oh, wow.
and they found even at that level, there was no toxicity.
Okay.
If you had tried to do that with vitamin E or vitamin A or maybe even C, it probably would have been fatal to the test animals. But with
Exactly.
C60, still no toxicity at all.
That's
So that's just kind of giving you the idea because it only reacts with those two oxidative radicals and nothing else. No minerals, no supplements, no pharmaceuticals, nothing.
mhm.
Just those two oxidative radicals, and that's it.
And what about heat versus room temperature versus chilled? Anything? No, it
No, it
is
doesn't. It won't
stable.
make a difference. Yeah, it
Okay,
won't make a
great.
difference on that. Yeah, if it gets hot, C60 actually extends. So we have like 2 years on our product, but we have stuff like MCT oil that's still good after 6 years because C60 is an antioxidant, and so oxidative damage takes out oil. So actually, but we're not going to do more than 2 years because that's the lifespan from the farm.
Mhm.
So even if C60 extends it, we're just going to use that level that the farm put out
I see.
the
Very good.
with the whichever oil it is.
Very good. So, is C60 best taken apart from food, with food? We got the morning time,
It's well, like obviously you take it in a gummy.
right?
It's also got pectin there. That's never a problem. You took one or two of those in the morning, you get you going, doing great.
Mhm.
Now sometimes with MCT oil, it's kind of it kind of goes through you quickly.
Mhm.
So if you've never taken MCT oil before straight, mix it with food. That's fine.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
olive oil or avocado. You can mix it with food in the morning, put it in your smoothie. As you did, you put it in your coffee, kind
Yep.
of paleo coffee. That's perfectly fine too.
Yep.
Sure, it's absorbed faster if you take it straight. But if
Yep.
you've never taken it all straight before, don't do that.
Yeah.
Put it in your food and then gradually, kind of work your way into taking it straight if you want to do that.
Okay, excellent. Anything that I'm not asking about, because clearly you have a plethora of knowledge on
Yeah.
this, that you would say, you know what, by the way, these fertility folks might want to understand this about C60 or about why they may be struggling with fertility and how and why C60 should be considered.
No, I think the main thing is that C60, restarts the mitochondria. Mitochondria make the pregnenolone. And by the way, and the cells, the endocrine system, have actually the highest levels of mitochondria in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used to think it was different. Then the brain cells, they have the second
Oh,
highest.
that's
The brain's like
interesting.
2% of your body weight, but it uses 20% of your energy. But your endocrine cells are actually, I was corrected, are actually even more mitochondria dense. And of course, muscle cells too, like the heart and other things, they're full of mitochondria. So those are kind of the real cell types that help, which is exactly what you're looking for fertility.
Mm-hmm. And we had talked about how C60 can be, or somebody who's on any type of blood thinner for any
Yeah.
medicinal reason or medical reason should be aware that C60 can require a decrease in that
Oh, yes.
medication, so that
Yeah.
that person should consult with their medical doctor, and just be monitored. I mean, how lovely would that be to have to lower your dose of blood thinning medication because you don't need it anymore.
Yeah. And so one of the things, by the way, pregnenolone is made from LDL cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take C60, your LDL levels drop because your pregnenolone production is going up. It's just,
Beautiful.
that's why, in fact, people get too much LDLs, because as you get older, your mitochondria aren't working as much, but your body's still making LDL. And so it's not being used up, and then it hangs around, gets oxidized, and sticks to your plaque and your arteries.
So
But
this has me
once,
think of the PCOS gal, right? Her, oftentimes her metabolic dysregulation has her having higher insulin, higher LDL, perhaps and the docs are popping her onto metformin, which
yes,
I
exactly.
mean
And
no
don't be, yeah.
disrespect, but is that another medication that then perhaps might need
Oh,
to be
yes, yeah, it would be, yeah,
monitored?
probably in that area, because it would raise, but the pregnenolone goes up, the LDL goes down. But also I think people really you need saturated fatty acids. You need this like from fish, from beef, from whatever. You need those because your brain's like 40% cholesterol. You need that for key. And then, they've been given the beta blockers and everything to
Mm-hmm.
take that out of but that's the key stuff you need. And,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no evidence that, a lot of the evidence that they claim is really from bad studies.
I know. It's heartbreaking, but and we have to be, we have to be careful and judicious about how we refute or argue against it. But I guess I could see that if somebody were following her doctor's advice and doing a lower fat diet and on metformin because she's PCO, because she's got elevated LDL, if she's taking C60, and as you say, pregnenolone goes up, LDL goes down, her levels will start to show it. I just want to make sure she's not, continuing to take the same
Oh,
dose
yeah, exactly.
without thinking about it and without consulting with her doc, because
As they say,
yeah,
test, don't guess.
exactly.
Just get more testing. Instead of the 6-month testing, go to 3-month testing or
Perfect.
2-month testing. And that faster testing can also help you monitor what's going on in your body, because, get one of those broad spectrum tests so you see all kinds of things that are going on, because, C60 is very specific about what it does and its effects of the body, but there's other things always going on, and it's good just to know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in there, and you get
Mm-hmm.
that through testing.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's actually very sage advice. And then we're kind of getting close to our wrap up, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to share with the listeners, where can they find you where can they find more about you? Is there a way they can, ask direct questions? We'll have a, Q&A opportunity in the podcast delivery itself, but I want to make sure people can reach you if they need.
Oh, yes, our website is shopc60.com. So if you go to support@shopc60.com, you can go there and leave questions. And you can also, if you go to our website, you can sign up for a newsletter that puts you into sales, and also a lot of different offers. People come in, like you, that have various things that they're doing, and it'll link to some more informational stuff. So you get FAQs. And we also have a YouTube site called C60 Purple Power, the old product name. And we have like over 200 videos there of FAQs all about C60.
Beautiful. And once again, the purple part was that when the C60 goes into the MCT, it changes its color to purple. That was one of my first questions to Ken. I thought,
yes, it is.
purple?
And like with olive oil or avocado oil, it turns them a dark amber. And that's the thing you should be looking for. If you buy any C60 product, it should be either a dark amber or a dark or the purple color, and clear. There's people selling that basically, because particles of C60 have no benefit. It has to be dissolved. So there's all kinds of people out there. You gotta know what you're doing. Okay. And that's also whatisc60.org. If you really want to know the full science stuff, you can go there, and they have the human and animal studies, and also studies with particles showing that they don't give you any benefits. It's got to be dissolved C60.
Gotcha.
It's got to be in the right form to be biologically effective.
I want to repeat that because I think it's important to take away. The liquid must be clear. If it's in MCT, it will become a purple clear. If it's in avocado, it will become an amber clear. And so if you're pouring this out and you're not seeing those colors,
if it's black as ink,
don't swallow.
There's a lot of people out there that they put activated charcoal, because like in the burnt wick of a candle, there's 0.25% C60. But you'd have to eat a lot of burnt wicks of candles to get anything. Right. In charcoal, there's a little tiny bit of C60, like 0.1%. So they have these people that basically put activated charcoal in an oil and then sell it as if it's a C60 product. And yes, there's 0.1% C60 in that product, but you need 99.99%. It's just, and there's nothing wrong with activated charcoal, but that's
but it's not C60. Yeah, you take it as a binder. You don't take it for C60. Oh, Ken, thank you so much. I really am really grateful. Can't wait to have you back, because I know we just barely skimmed the surface, but I want to be respectful of your time, the listeners' time. So my takeaways, and add on to anything if I'm incorrect, is that how C60 is most beneficial is at the level of the mitochondria. It is going to reduce oxidative stress and damage for men and women, and so share and share alike.
Yes.
And it is. I think I heard you say that the side effect, if you will, is that it raises dopamine, so you're feeling better, you're feeling more active, you're feeling juicier, you're wanting to do what it takes to have that baby.
Oh yeah, and it increases libido, and that's probably from the big increase in testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. When the androgen production in your adrenals goes up, the androgens go into the bloodstream, they're picked up by the ovaries or the testes or whatever, and then boom. So that's another side effect, which is important in this for
a beneficial side effect, to be sure. Well, once again, thank you so much for your time. Listeners, look for everything in the bio and in the comments section, and we can take it from there. Thank you so much, Ken. Well, you heard the bell. Class is dismissed. Your health journey is unique, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. To continue your progress, here are a few pieces of homework for you. 1, take the Your Fertility Quiz at yourfertilityquiz.com. Discover your personalized solutions by answering just a few simple questions. It's a great way to gain insight into your health needs and find the next steps to achieve your goals. 2, schedule a fertility assessment call. Connect with our team of experts through a brief personal call, where we will dive deeper into your health goals and provide personalized recommendations to help you achieve them. 3, enroll in the program that is right for you. Explore our range of online programs designed to be accessible, holistic, and tailored to your specific needs. With our programs rooted in traditional Chinese medicine and functional medicine, we help you find patterns that may have caused imbalances, how to correct them, and restore your health. And don't forget to stay connected with us on social media. Follow Health University on Instagram at Dr. Susan Fox for inspiration, tips, and updates on the latest developments in wellness and holistic health.